Hi, I'm Andrew and welcome to the farm. It is only a couple days away from the 1st of March, and after what seems like a long winter, spring is rapidly approaching. In fact, over the last couple weeks, we've only had a few nights that have dropped below freezing. And these warmer temperatures are bringing about something that I have been anticipating since, well, I guess about June of last year. And I guess if you go all the way back to the beginning, whenever we first purchased this property, it has taken us nearly 7 years to get to this point. When we first purchased this property, the pastures were all grown up with weeds, briars, vines. There were a lot of cedar trees and Bradford pear trees, along with other brush that was starting to take over. So with the removal of those trees, I began the process of cleaning up the pasture. Years of setting unused also meant that we needed to pull soil samples. And then we'll just shake the soil down into that bag and move on to our next spot, which revealed that the soil had become very acidic and needed to be dressed with some ag lime. Then, after running cattle on it for a few years, I made preparations to completely renovate it so that we could potentially turn this into a hayfield going forward. Oh, so close. Now we're just spinning. Maybe this way will work. Spin it around, pull it that way. Hopefully the chain will help keep the front tires straight. This north side pasture consists of about 4.5 acres, somewhere in that neighborhood, of mostly weeds, blackberry, Cerisa lespedeza, you name it. If it's in Missouri, it's probably out here. We've also got several spots on the ground, like this right here, where if it shows up on camera, you can kind of see that there's really just not much growing there. And what I've been told is there's really only two ways to get it under control. Number one is to absolutely soak the pasture with pasture guard or crossbow weed killer, and that's frankly something that I'm not interested in doing. And the other option is to use a moldboard plow and turn the ground all over. It disrupts the root system, where if you were just to come out here with a disc, you're not going to cut deep enough into the soil to create enough disruption to actually eliminate the weed. And let's be honest, even though I am in every sense of the word a novice whenever it comes to plowing, it's just a lot of fun. Yeah, we got a nice curve in it. That's okay. There's no straight lines in nature. Just need to work on my technique a little bit. You know, I've got to say, things seem to be improving. And I'll show you something here. This is what we want to see. These roots right here on our back side of our sod. Pretty sure that these nice long tap roots, that is our Cerisa lespedeza. Of course, along with that came the occasional breakdown and equipment repair that had to be done as well. Got the new parts in, got our seal, our bearing kit, and our new spindle. Tap it, tap it, tap it. There we go. There we go. Inner race. And look at that, the tractor's back on its own 4 feet again. May not be the best plowing job in the world, but it'll work for what I'm doing. Gigantic rock. Oh! So I've got the whole thing disked now, and I guess, well, here's a good spot as any. So this is kind of what I'm going for. You can see the Sarisa right here. Whenever we plowed it, we turned it all over, and now we're chopping up all of these clumps. Now, evidence of my poor skills whenever it comes to running a moldboard plow, I think is probably seen in some of these spots where we've still got Sarisa sticking up. But hopefully as we disc, we'll be able to loosen those up. Actually, see, I just pulled this one up out of the ground, but you know, the soil's loose, so I mean, those will pull right out. I've got the 820 John Deere over here. You probably hear it running with the cultivator on it. It's an old cultivator. It's been around for a long time, and we're going to run it through the dirt today to try to break up some of this stuff and knock some of these weeds out. This time I'm going to run at an angle across the field instead of back and forth. That way it kind of breaks things up. I don't know that it matters a whole lot. It just sounds better in my head, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so let me show you why I am using this cultivator and what exactly it's doing here. So, if you look here on the ground, you see these right here. I can't remember exactly what these things are called, but as I go over them with the cultivator, it basically uproots all of this kind of stuff, leaves it on top of the ground. That way it will it'll die out. And you can see right here as well,
It's leaving all this stuff, just pulling it up, breaking it loose. And of course, there's some stuff that doesn't come up. It's not perfect, but the idea is to help reduce the pressure, you know, the competition whenever we actually plant our seeds out here. Well, looks like I'm done for right now at least, because I had a blowout in the hydraulic line right up in here in the brake control unit somewhere. It is finally time to spread a little bit of seed. So it's been about 4 months since I plowed up this pasture out here. It's roughly 4.5 acres, maybe just a touch smaller than that. I've hit it multiple times with a disc and a cultivator in order to eliminate any weeds that may sprout up and try to start growing. But now that we've done that, I'm going to today broadcast a little bit of seed out there. This is a mixture of a product that they call Fast Pasture, and there's no endorsements or anything like that here. Endophyte free fescue, perennial ryegrass, hold orchard grass, and timothy. And then I also had them mix in some mammoth red clover and some ladino as well, ladino white clover. All right, let's look and see what we've got here. Now this is predominantly fescue, so that's the biggest part of what you're seeing there. The little small seeds are clover, and then the other grasses, they're a similar shape and size to the fescue as well. Maybe just somewhat different, but like I said, this is primarily the biggest part of this is that endophyte-free fescue. And then, like I said, we've got those little seeds in there too. Which it's nice having the bigger fescue in there, along with the little seeds, because it helps, I guess, kind of break it up a little bit. Cut it however you. Here goes $400 worth of seed.
All right, so I've worked the first acre roughly, which is this little area right back here, and I wasn't dumping nearly as much seed as I thought. But I will say this, that I would much rather put it on slow than end up putting it all on and running out. All right, bag number 2. I had this little small bag there as well. It was, I guess, what was left over after they filled the bigger ones. All right, so this time I've got 53 pounds in here. There's 2 50-pound bags left in the barrel, so this should get me about a third of what I've got left out here. So cross your fingers. Okay, so there's roughly 30 openings between T-posts down through here, so I guess basically every 10 is what I'm gonna shoot for. That's the whole field. I've got just a touch left. Just kind of drive around until it's empty now, I guess. Next, we are going to hook up to the roller with the 806. But before we do that, I want to come out here and show you what kind of coverage I managed to get. Right here where this tire track is as good a spot as any. You can see here all the little seeds laying in there, and it is like that just about anywhere you go. There we go. So this is what the pasture looks like now that it has all been rolled out. And this is what I mentioned earlier on. This is where we've got the rocks. One of the reasons we roll the pasture is to mash these rocks like this back down into the ground, because we can't pick them all up. After I got done rolling the pasture, my son and I, we came out here and we did pick up some of the rocks that were larger, that were still just laying on the surface of the ground. It's been a few days, not quite a week yet, but we do have some germination starting to happen out here. So now really all that's left to do at this point is to wait and hope for a little bit of rain. Not a heavy rain, because we don't want to wash all of our topsoil down the hill, but just enough to keep things moving. We have got some grass growing out here. If you look and your eye catches it just right, there's a lot of little fine green hairs coming up out of this pasture. Just like those, for instance. And all of these. And there's more over there, down there, over here, back up along that hillside right there. Now, of course, as you see, there are still bare spots out here in this pasture. And as time goes on, what seeds are still left in the soil that haven't yet germinated will germinate, and the grass that's growing around it will spread out and begin to fill these areas in. Now, we don't expect this pasture to meet all of our hay needs, especially not at first. Ultimately, the goal is to cut down on the amount of hay that we have to bring in from off the farm. Of course, it is good to bring hay in from off of the farm because that adds some fertility back into your soil, but we don't want to be totally reliant on an outside source for hay. But I have to say that I am very happy with the transformation that this pasture has undergone, and I am very excited about what the future is going to bring. So that's going to do it for this one. I would appreciate it if you enjoyed this video, if you'd hit the like button, and if you have not yet, please consider subscribing to our channel. As always, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.